just like seeing her for the first time.
Sita was very angry when he heard Luan say that. His face darkened, his brows furrowed tightly, and his voice shook the room. He said, "You just told me to apologize." His tone was not one of disbelief, but of fury, as though the very idea of being told to apologize was an insult to his pride. He turned to Hennet and shouted loudly, the veins on his neck visible, "Haven't you told him who he is?" His voice boomed across the train car, making several students flinch. He kept yelling at Hennet, his rage uncontrollable, his pride wounded. Luan saw everything, and in that moment, he understood. This was why the festival participants were scared when they saw the Ote Academy guys. They weren't just strong, they bullied others intentionally, using fear as a weapon to break their opponent's morale. They did it on purpose, to demoralize everyone before the competition even began. Only then did Luan realize that the great festival had already begun. Right now, long before they reached the arena, it wasn't just about battles in the ring yet. It was psychological warfare from the start. Without hesitation, Luan immediately challenged Cedar. His voice was sharp and unwavering. Cedar's eyes widened, then narrowed bitterly. "Do you think I'm scared?" he spat, his fists clenching, his muscles tensing as he prepared to punch. Before he could strike, a professor from OTA Academy suddenly appeared and moved to stop him. The atmosphere turned tense as the older man's presence cut the hostility like a blade. He turned to look at his student, his eyes stern. He shouted loudly, "Let's just sit and love, okay? What did you do before the match? You already want to make enemies right now?" His tone was filled with reprimand. Then he turned, bowed slightly with respect, and apologized to the professor of the Ignatius side. "My students were so disrespectful. On behalf of them, I sincerely apologize." To the teacher, his words carried authority. Calming the chaos in the air, he pushed Cedar back toward the academy ship, his grip firm on the young man's shoulder. Even though Cedar was trying to explain, his protests fell on deaf ears. Before leaving, Cedar turned around to look at Luan. His eyes burned with hatred, and his voice was low but filled with venom. He promised to take revenge on him one day. Luan watched him leave just like that, and immediately thought to himself that it wasn't as easy as he thought from the beginning. His chest tightened with realization. The great festival was not a simple game. Meanwhile, Cedar immediately asked the professor, his voice still filled with frustration, "Why did you stop me?" And what was more surprising was that he was the one who suggested this method. Confusion filled Cedar's face. Cedar didn't understand why, but the professor sighed, his expression complicated, and said, "You didn't see it, did you? Didn't you see him smiling?" Cedar blinked, taken aback. He didn't understand what he was saying. The professor explained patiently, his eyes narrowing as if analyzing the unseen. Professor Heo smiled while observing me, as if he was waiting for me to make a move. He wasn't sure what could happen either. But I think there's something about that Luan kid that we don't know. He's not the same guy that you fought with last time. Cedar could only grit his teeth. He only knew how to be silent and patient, though his anger continued to boil. After the AOR group left, the atmosphere changed strangely. The students, who had been silent and tense, now immediately gathered to discuss the next battle. Their voices were a mix of worry, strategy, and frustration. The first match, they learned, was a group match without representatives. Everyone was disappointed and humiliated when they discovered that Luan would not join them. One of them, Head, refused to accept it. His face twisted in disbelief, as if he was the lank representative of the academy instead. Hennet shouted loudly at them, his pride wounded but his spirit burning. "We must not lose." Just now, they were still full of ego and jealousy, fighting among themselves, but now they were united like this. The fear of losing face, the shame of being mocked, it all bound them together. Everyone immediately asked about Luan, especially after he had a little collision with the Cedar guy earlier. They turned to him, their eyes seeking answers. Luan preached to the groups. His voice was steady, almost commanding. "Don't you find it annoying? Those guys look down on you. They look down on the representative of our school. Coming out as my representative, and if I sit still, what will happen? Surely they will enjoy it even more and despise us even more. If you don't do anything, then the academy is really as stupid as they say. Do you want it to be? Do you want to be despised? Luan shouted loudly, his voice echoing like a bell in the tense compartment. It's because you guys went into the water that they looked down on us for the past years. So what do you want now? This is not the time to lose unity because of ego. After being preached to by Luan, everyone became united. Even the hens, who were usually stubborn and arrogant, began to listen to what he said. Slowly, the jealousy faded, replaced by respect and determination. It looked like Emiko's tail was also participating, so it stayed that way until the contest ended. At the next station, everyone advised each other to bring their luggage down. The professor's voice rang clearly in the air. Aten is a state belonging to the Royal Federation of Ryan. This is also the only state considered a neutral state of the empire. So when entering here, even if it is an enemy for thousands of years, hatred must be temporarily put aside. If bloodshed occurs in the territory of Athens, the Re-Empire, as the continental hegemon, will judge the matter. That's why large-scale international competitions are held in Athens, such as the Grand Festival of the Mags Guild and the Grand Treasure of the Sword Guild. Ignatius Academy is present at Aten the moment they set foot here. They were all surprised by the development. The streets were broad, lined with ancient buildings carved with symbols of history. The atmosphere was alive yet dignified. Luan was a bit overwhelmed by this place. As expected of being the capital of the kingdom, everything looked ancient and grand. The walls towered, the architecture screamed of history, and everyone seemed comfortable here, accustomed to greatness. He thought quietly, "You see how small we really are." Luan immediately saw a horse-drawn carriage approaching. Its wheels creaked against the cobblestone, pulled by strong steeds decorated with ornate harnesses. The professor announced that they would now go to the resting place. Everyone began getting into the carriages, their faces filled with anticipation. A group of horse-drawn carriages carried practitioners away. Professor reminded them, his voice firm, even if it's intentional. "Do not go to other," he cut himself short but looked meaningfully at Luen. The professor reminded Luan, directly, that there was no point in causing trouble at this time. His eyes lingered on him with a strange weight. Luan didn't understand why he said that, and looked at him like that. Trang, on the other hand, looked excitedly out the window. His eyes sparkled like a child seeing something wondrous. Luan didn't know what was going on out there. Trang suddenly said, almost breathless, "I just smelled an extremely interesting smell." He jumped down to Lang's feet, crouching low, his expression full of realization. He touched the ground and whispered. With certainty it looked like the ruins. The next day, at the dormitory of Ignite Academy, the atmosphere was still quiet. Morning sunlight slipped through the windows, casting a soft golden glow inside the building. Most of the students were still asleep, enjoying the rare peace before. Another hectic day. Among them was Fatherson, who had not yet woken up, lying lazily on his bed, with his blanket half covering his body. Meanwhile, Luen had already hurriedly gotten out of bed. Without wasting a single moment, he quickly changed, grabbed his things, and rushed out of the dormitory. His steps were fast, almost impatient, as if he already had something very important to do. The page, like a guiding system, seemed to explain that his location would appear on the map shortly. Not long after, Da Trang shouted loudly, his voice echoing across the street. In front of Luin stood a peculiar building, its walls trembling slightly, as if alive. It was a memory factory, a place known to hold mysterious items and fragments of forgotten power. Without hesitation, Luen pushed the heavy door open, his heart racing with both nervousness and excitement. He had imagined that the Black Dragon's belongings would be kept in a very special place, perhaps hidden deep within the black market, or stored carefully in the basements of wealthy nobles. Yet, to his surprise, this place looked so ordinary, almost plain, with nothing suspicious on the surface. The page explained further. Not all magicians had the ability to use the players. But Luen did. As soon as he activated it, a stream of power became visible, flowing from one direction like shimmering light in the air. Those streams of power were all connected to a single object, the player's treasure. It was described as the Dark's first defeat, an ability capable of granting immunity to damage. This treasure was said to strengthen the body against physical impacts, drastically increasing the ability to neutralize attacks. Luan's eyes widened. But when he attempted to connect with it, two words appeared before him. Failed attempt. Disappointment crept onto his face. But Palrang, who had accompanied him, calmly explained. This one is a bit special. It's not only resistant to normal physical attacks, but also resistant to even the most ordinary touches. That means even a lover's hug would no longer reach you. Luin frowned, imagining the isolation such an artifact could bring. Yet the page advised him that he still needed this item, as it would be crucial for his survival. Then, the system board suddenly lit up, announcing point increase in strength when wearing equipment. The moment Luin heard about the power increase, he didn't hesitate. He quickly slipped the ring onto his finger. The metallic band tightened perfectly, almost as if it had been crafted solely for him. At the checkout, the kind shopkeeper smiled and waved his hand. Just take it away. It's been here for a long time, and honestly, I don't even know how to preserve it anymore. Luin felt a bit embarrassed by the generosity, so he decided to buy something else as well. The shop was filled with various rare goods, and Luin used his external eyes to inspect them one by one. This ability allowed him to view the hidden information behind objects, determining their true value. His gaze soon fell upon an old mechanical scroll. The system board announced with a sharp chime. High rarity item detected. It was called a quant, a scroll containing deep knowledge about both magic and swordsmanship. Such an item was rare, the kind that could drastically change one's path of power. Luin reached out to pick it up, but before his fingers touched the surface, another hand moved swiftly and grabbed it. Surprised, Luin turned to see a young girl standing before him. His player's eye immediately activated and revealed her identity. It was Anna, level 5, mage. Also known as the King of Hell, she was famed as the ultimate magician, one of the rare successors personally chosen by the greatest magi. Rumors had always painted her as a genius, on the verge of reaching level 5. But the truth was far beyond the whispers. She had already achieved that level. Despite her young age, Ayn was stunning, her beauty striking in a way that immediately drew attention. Yet, there was also a sharpness in her gaze, a cunning undertone that hinted she was not someone to be underestimated. Their hands clashed lightly over the scroll. "Let go," she said, her voice calm yet firm. But Luin refused to release it, his grip just as tight. She glanced at his clothes and smirked slightly. "You must be from Hennet Academy." "I'm Ian, from Say Women's University." Her words carried pride, but also a challenge. Luin asked directly, "You found what you needed. Now you're just looking for something else, right? Is this book what you came for?" Ian nodded. "That's right. I came for this book. Can you give it to me?" Luin was puzzled. "Why do you need this book? Very few people even care about something like this." Ian hesitated. Her voice faltered as she replied, "It's just for homework." I can't explain clearly." Luin tilted his head slightly. Something about her words felt off, but he chose not to press her further. Instead, with a gallant smile, he handed the book to her. "It's important to you. Just take it." Ian looked stunned, as though she wanted to say more, but her lips parted without sound. By the time she gathered herself, Luin had already turned away to look for other items. Later, when he returned to the dormitory, Luin told his friends about meeting Ayn. Immediately, every boy's eyes lit up with excitement. The mention of a beautiful girl was enough to spark envy. Fatherson, still half dreaming, clenched his fists jealously, muttering about how he wished he had the chance to even touch her hand. Luin sighed helplessly, listening to their chatter. Then Hendot burst into laughter, slapping his knee. "It's so ordinary. I also met Ien once, at the festival." Before he could finish, Fatherson interrupted, annoyed at his bragging. The room quickly filled with playful quarrels. Yet amidst the noise, added with a serious tone, "You know, Ian has always been strong, but she's never ranked first. She's always second. Every year," he explained further. "Still, she's recognized more than anyone else. She's also the top performer at Ryan Military Training School. Not to mention, she owns the light sword." Luan's mind froze. The light sword was an S-class treasure, a weapon whose brilliance rivaled even the greatest magical artifacts. That meant the reason Ian wanted that book was probably related to mastering techniques to use against worldworms. Creatures that required such powerful gear. Hit at it again. But honestly, being a swordsman isn't all that great compared to wielding magic. A magic sword alone doesn't guarantee power. Swordsmanship itself is extremely difficult to master. Palrang, however, shook his head. This isn't just any weapon. The light sword's performance is equal to that of a knight's highest weapon. It's on another level entirely. Luin sat quietly, absorbing their words. His chest felt heavy. Ian was already a level 5 mage at such a young age. She also had the light sword, a treasure recognized across the continent. In comparison, what did he have? Doubt began to creep in, whispering that no one would ever pay attention to someone like him. But then he remembered the principal's words of encouragement, words that reminded him that even ordinary students could shine when given the chance. Just as Luin's thoughts began to waver, an announcement rang through the academy halls. "All students, prepare yourselves. The lineup for the debut at the opening ceremony has been decided." Luin's heart thudded. This was no time to give in to despair. The great festival was about to begin, and this was his chance to prove himself not just to others, but to himself as well. The debut lineup was finally announced. The battle had just begun,